And the Olympic Games, which originated in ancient Greece, have rather as many as 3,000 years ago, were revived in the late 19th century and have become the world's preeminent sporting event. The first modern Olympics were held in 1896 in Athens and featured 280 participants from 13 nations competing in 43 events. Since 1994, the Summer and Winter Olympic Games have been held separately and have alternated every 2 years. As we get ready for the 31st edition of the Summer Games in Rio, we take a jog down the memory lane on the Olympic history. Take a look.
The first written records of the ancient Olympic Games date to 776 BC, when a cook named Coroebus won the only event, a 192-meter foot race called the Stad, to become the first Olympic champion. The ancient Olympics were held every 4 years between August 6 and September 19 during a religious festival honoring Zeus. The games were named for their location at Olympia, a sacred site located near the western coast in southern Greece. The first modern Olympics were held in Athens, Greece in 1896. In the opening ceremony, King Georges won, and a crowd of 60,000 spectators welcomed 280 participants from 13 nations, all male, who would compete in 43 events. The official symbol of the modern games is 5 interlocking colored rings representing the continents of North and South America, Asia, Africa, Europe and Australia. The Olympic flag featuring the symbol on a white background flew for the first time at Antwerp Games in 1920. The Olympics truly took off as an international sporting event after 1924, when the 8th Games were held in Paris. Some 3,000 athletes with more than 100 women among them from 44 nations competed that year, and for the first time the Games featured a closing ceremony. 80 years later, when the 2004 Summer Olympics returned to Athens for the first time in more than a century, nearly 11,000 athletes from a record 201 countries competed. In a gesture that joined both ancient and modern Olympic traditions, the shot put competition that year was held at the site of the Classical Games in Olympia. Some of the important landmarks in Olympics over the years are: one of the most dramatic feats of the Olympics was the triumph of the United States track and field team in 1896. Competing as unofficial representatives, the 10-man squad reached Athens and won 9 out of 12 events. George Iser won 6 Olympic medals, 3 gold, 2 silver and a bronze in a single day at the 1904 Games. In 1912, Jim Thorpe, a Native American, became the only man to win both the decathlon and pentathlon in 1 year. His medals were restored posthumously in 1982. In track and field, Jesse Owens, a black American, won 4 gold medals, including a team medal in 1936. The first woman to win 3 individual gold medals was Fanny Blankers-Koen of Netherlands. The first athletes to win the decathlon twice were Bob Mathias of United States in 1948 and 1952 and Daley Thompson of Great Britain in 1980 and 1984. The first perfect 10 in Olympic gymnastics was scored by NADIA COMANECI of Romania, who received 7 perfect scores and 3 gold medals in 1976. In 1972, the United States swimmer Mark Spitz won a record 7 gold medals at a single Olympics. The all-time individual medal winner was American track athlete Ray C. Airy, who won 8 events in the 1900, 1904 and 1908 Games. The 1972 Summer Games in Munich, West Germany became a tragedy when Palestinian terrorists murdered 11 Olympic team members from Israel. In a protest against the New Zealand rugby tour of South Africa, about 30 African nations boycotted the 1976 Summer Games in Montreal. Scandals rocked the 1988 Summer Games in Seoul. 10 athletes were disqualified after drug tests revealed steroid abuse. Charges of bias and incompetence in the officiating at the boxing events led to 2-year suspensions for 5 Korean boxers and officials and several other judges and referees. The 1992 Games were unusual in that there were no more Soviet teams. The Soviet Union had split up in December 1991. The teams that participated from its former republics, sometimes still wearing the old Soviet uniforms, represented either now independent Baltic states or the Commonwealth of Independent States, which had been formed from the 11 of the former Soviet republics. In the 1896 Olympic Games, there were fewer than 500 athletes representing 13 nations. In 2016, the Rio Games drew entries from 10,293 athletes and a record total of 207 countries. The Olympic motto is made up of 3 Latin words: Citius, Altius, Fortius. These words mean faster, higher, stronger. And may the Brazil edition helps the human spirit of celebration hit the right notes. Sports Desk, DD News.